Hi everyone, I'm David Reeder, and we are off deck just a few days away from the start of the FINA World Championships, the biggest swim meet in the world outside of the Olympic Games. And a lot of familiar faces from the Olympics will be competing in Budapest, so it should be some excellent racing. To break it all down, in preview of the meet, we bring in our good friend John Lone. John, thanks for joining us again like you did for Nationals. How are you today?
Things are going well, David. It's nice to be back. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure to talk swimming with you. Since we're going to start with the women today who are competing at Worlds, and that means we probably have to start with Katie Ledecky. I think it's kind of, you just can't do anything but predict her to win 4 individual golds just like she did 2 years ago in Kazan.
Yeah, the only thing that was kind of a hiccup in Kazan was how she had to deal with the semifinal of that 200 freestyle and after a 1500 and sneak in. And now you look at her 2 years later, stronger, has been through that gauntlet, and probably knows how to handle that better. So I don't think that will be as much as a slipping point as it almost was a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, yeah, how do you not see her going for gold in the 2:4:8:15? My biggest, I guess, question mark with her, and I don't mean that in a negative way, is just can she replicate, if given the chance, the 52.7 split that she threw down on the 400 free relay in Rio? If she does that, God, it's another unbelievable just performance that she'll put together that we've come to expect every time. I don't know if people can expect it. I mean, look, the quad. Every quad is broken down to excel at those Olympic Games. So I hope people aren't disappointed if she doesn't break a handful of world records, because maybe that's not where this is right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's Katie too, so it could easily happen. But, you know, she's going to go out there, and the idea is to walk away with as much gold as possible and then see where the times fall.
Yeah. Joe, our producer, wrote an article right after the NCAA meet about people getting Ledecky fatigue. You just expect it from her. You expect these records, and you kind of do. That said, I think it's fair to expect one world record, again, if she doesn't play it differently. The 1500, just because it was set 2 years ago in Kazan, versus the records that were set in Rio that you and I both saw and were both in awe of, the 400 and the 800. But yeah, very unlikely to imagine her having any competition in those events. And in the 200, her closest competition in Rio, Sjostrom, isn't going to swim that. So
Right.
it's just a race against the clock, I think, in her individual swims.
Yeah, that's her biggest opponent right now. It's digital, not human.
Yeah. And like you said, it's Katie, so you never know.
Yeah.
Sjostrom, no swimmer, Ledecky included, has been more impressive this year. The top times in the world in the 50 and the 100 free, the 50 and the 100 fly. She's almost broken the world records in both sprint free events, which is, she's been good at, but never been the best in the world at. And now we're talking about her as almost a lock for world titles in those events. It's just been impressive, and I think it's going to be just as impressive in Budapest.
Yeah, this is going to be the first major international meet where we'll see what she can do off a taper with her new coach, having left Carl Jenner. And obviously things seem to be clicking really well in her new environment and the new program that she's under. How much time can she's a type of swimmer who races quick no matter where she's at. So she's not going to be one of those Anthony Irvin types who hacks a monster piece of time off the clock, per event. But she doesn't have much room to need to go to take down a 50 free or a 100 free world record. And with the way she plays the 100 fly, she does what she wants.
Yeah.
In that. So, yeah, you'd be kind of surprised to not see Sarah without a world record there, considering how close she's been in the run up to Budapest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, again, those events were wide open last summer. The 100 free, for instance, was such a competitive race last summer with Kate Campbell's shocking whatever happened to her in that 100 free final and the tie for gold. And you have 2 young co-gold medalists in Simone Manuel and Penny Alexiak, and they're both being massively overshadowed now by Sjostrom in an event that could be great, but most likely it'll just be Sjostrom.
Yeah, if you take what's been going on during the year, you'd think she's running away with this. I love how Simone Manuel loves to rise to a challenge, and for her to be where she is now is a little bit ahead of pace of where she was going into Rio. So how much more time can she drop? But I would be surprised to not see Simone actually break her American record in the 100 freestyle. The problem is, let's say she takes 2/10 off that American record, and that puts her at 52.50. That's still not. That's a half a second away from where Sjöström is.
Yep. Yeah. It's also funny that we're talking about the Americans in the 100 free when, a year ago, you and I were among those saying, oh no, the Americans are screwed in the 100 free, and now there's Manuel doing what she does, Mallory Comerford doing what she does, and you have two in the 52 territory, two medal contenders along the likes of Bronte Campbell and Renomi Kromowidjojo and Alexiak, obviously. So that's gonna be an interesting race, even if Sjöström does run away with it, I think.
Right, and Alexiak is another curious performer because we see this teenage phenom breakout last year and very likable and comes across really well. But where exactly is she? She's had some decent swims, but maybe she fits the mold of that athlete who at major competition is going to really drop the hammer
and
go big time.
And she's been just as fast, if not faster, this year than she was last year when she dropped the hammer in Rio. So again, worth keeping an eye on. Let's move to the women's breaststroke events because I think there's going to be a lot of drama in those. Just a feeling based on what happened at the Olympics with Lily King and Yulia Efimova. King going in as the number 2 seed and still technically the favorite, I guess, as the Olympic gold medalist, but not as the number 1 seed because of what Efimova did, almost breaking the world record in the 200 and going a really fast 100 on the Mare Nostrum Tour. So what do you expect to see, I guess, some fireworks in and out of the pool from these two?
Out of the pool, I actually think it's going to be a little bit tamer. Okay. I think Lily, she sent her message last year. She did what she felt like she needed to do or wanted to do or was kind of just spur on the moment did. And now you've heard her. She said she's going to focus on her racing. And it doesn't really benefit, I don't think, her to get caught up in the hype. Let her focus on her race. I think that would be her smartest bet because she's just an extraordinary talent. And if she just focuses on hitting her races up and back, let the talent speak for itself. At this point, she has nothing. She's the one who's the Olympic champion.
Yeah.
Let that carry the weight.
I'll be interested to see where this goes. We both predicted King to win that event. World record, you got to assume they're going to be close just because of the way they've both been swimming. But that's going to be an exciting race, and I don't know. Efimova also has the shot at the world record in the 200. King now a medal contender in that after she didn't make the final last year. I mean, the event's just been kind of weak, so 221 is going to get in. But I think, I think we both kind of have a feeling about how these races are going to go. All right, so the relay events. Let's talk about those because the U.S. won the 800 and the 400 medley pretty comfortably in Rio. The 400 free, Australia won, but obviously Kate Campbell not swimming at Worlds this year kind of opens the door. I think it's going to be a very good race between those two. I think I picked Australia, you picked the U.S. to win. Explain why you think the Americans have enough this time.
It came down to two factors. Number one, the absence of Kate Campbell, and even before her individual struggles last year in Rio, I mean, she did put down a huge relay leg in Rio. So you take that out of the equation, and that's a big game changer. The other two reasons were for the first time, the Americans go into an international meet with a pair of sub-53s. Flat starts. Mallory Comerford changes the dynamic of this relay, and with Kate Campbell out of it, that dynamic changes even greater. So now I'm looking at a Simone Manuel 52, thinking Comerford can go 52, match 52.8. As we spoke about earlier, can Ledecky go again at 52.7? And it gives them a lot more wiggle room than they've had before.
Yeah.
And so that's basically where my thought process came from. And then I kind of went back and forth on third place of whether to put the Dutch in that third spot. And I'm glad I didn't because now we see that the young girl Marit Steenbergen is not going to be there for the Dutch. So that changes this entire podium for the minor medal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I went with Australia. I'm not sure I have a great reason why. Maybe just because they were so far ahead without swimming at their 100% best in
Yeah.
Rio. And aside from the Manuel Comerford and, of course, Ledecky, you don't know who the fourth person is going to be. Most likely a Kelsey Worrell or a Leah Neal. And they were both good at trials, but I don't know if but they're not, on the verge of breaking 53 by any stretch. And might be a stretch to see them, either of them, under 53 as a relay split. So I don't know.
But David, I really liked with Leah Neal going 53-50 at
Yeah,
nationals. If she has a great relay exchange, and she can be the 52 point that potentially, because I don't know if you know what's Australia going to do with its fourth thing with
yeah.
what's Brittany Elmsley. That's my assumption of who that would be. Um, how's that? So I think there's a question mark there too on their fourth one. It's definitely an argument that can be made for both to be the gold medalist.
Shayna Jack has been very impressive as well for Australia.
Yes.
So obviously some new blood, which is good. And Emma McKeon has been around for what feels like a long time for them. So will be a good race. Great race for the first relay of the championships. As for the other two, do you see the Americans? I don't see how it could be close. Even though the 800 free relay, someone pointed this out the other day. Ledecky and Leah Smith will be on the relay for the third straight year. Other than that, it'll be 6 different swimmers. It was Missy Franklin and Katie McLaughlin in 2015. Last year it was Allison Schmidt and Maya Dorado. And this year it's going to be none of them. So, but still, with Ledecky and 3 other 156s, you feel good about it.
Yeah, because when you have the 156s, that's nice and all, but then you have the hammer who can be 153, and those 156s become much quicker
Yeah.
as a result. And yeah, I can't see the Americans losing that 800 free relay. And then the 400 medley relay, if you look at Kathleen Baker and King, Worrell, and Manuel, man,
Yeah.
there's no weak link.
That's the last race of the meet. I think we'll be able to write that story before it's over, which will help speed things up the last night of the meet. So I wanted to ask one individual race, or maybe more than one, that really you're looking forward to watching this coming week.
How close Siobhan Marie O'Connor can get to Katinka Hatsu in the 200 medley. We saw the Brit really make a run in Rio. And we haven't had an official time really from Siobhan Marie O'Connor because she got deked at the British trials. So it's a little bit, I think she's like 7th in the world technically, but we know she's going to be much quicker, and we'll have a fresher schedule. And so that's what I'm looking to see. Can she put some heat on Katinka in her homeland? Which
Yeah.
would be very interesting.
I think my answer also has to do with Katinka, and I almost don't need to respond to that because it will be answered in my event, which is the women's 100 back. Hosu is the Olympic gold medalist in an event that you don't normally associate her with. She won, which, as I recall, you actually predicted correctly. But the women's 100 back semis are right before the 200 IM final. I think they're separated by the men's 2 free semis. In 2015, Hosu scratched the 100 back after prelims.
After prelim.
So she's the gold medalist. Would she still do that? Would she try and do both, knowing that she has a challenger in the 200 IM? That's one storyline for the women's 100 back. Then there's the fact that you have Kylie Moss, who almost broke the world record earlier this year.
Yep.
Kathleen Baker swimming great. Emily Seebohm, you expect much more from her than she had in Rio. And with or without Hosu, it looks like an incredibly interesting event. Now, the question is she there, is she not? But I think that's still going to be a great event.
That'll be, yeah. I mean, that'll be the weight of the media and some of the other athletes when that scratch time frame runs out. Okay, is she now going to swim the semi? Because I think if she doesn't scratch after the prelim and like she did in 15, like you mentioned, and she swims the semi, I think that means she's going to see it through.
Yeah.
Hatsu. And then you go from there. But yeah, there's no guarantee for her. The way Kylie Moss and Seebohm have been roaring along, and it's been nice to see Seebohm really cranking it back up. Yeah, there's no guarantees there at all
And
for Hasu, even if she's in it.
Yeah, and those same 4, along with Hillary Caldwell in the 200 backstroke, another great race. I'm not sure how fast we're going to be getting as far as I doubt we'll see anything below like 205.6 or so. But still,
Yeah,
those swimmers, Seabaum we know likes to come back on that last 50 like she did in Kazan. Hozu likes to go out fast like we saw in Rio, of course. Kathleen Baker likes to go out fast, and she's really coming into her own as a 200 backstroker now. So that was the other one that I'm really thinking, okay, this is going to be fun. Nice way to kind of start the meet and end the meet with the women's backstrokes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in general, I think this women's meet is going to be a nice mix of veteran and then waiting in the wings breakout stars.
Yeah. And you
Um,
have a lot of races where you know exactly who's going to win it, and then a lot of races where you know what superstars are going to clash, and very few races, if any, where there's really, okay, someone wins by default. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, and once again, it comes with the China question mark. What kind of team are they going to throw out there? Because they could be very dangerous in a lot of these relays.
Women's 800 free especially, but again, I still don't think you're going to be catching the Americans. John, thanks for doing this. Let's talk tomorrow, break down the men's meet, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good, David. Thank you.
Again, that's John Lone joining us today on Off Deck to break down the women's racing at the World Championships. Tomorrow, we do the men. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you then.